he's talking about. There's more footage. There's 140 hours that he has. And each episode was only maybe an hour, I think. There's 4 episodes. So there's at least 130 something more hours that he hasn't edited or, produced.
For some reason, Diddy, around the time of his arrest, thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be exonerated later, so I'm going to film all this, and then I can use it in my big comeback later when I'm not in jail. Didn't work out the way he thought, and it turns out he went to jail for a few years. All right, he didn't get the full amount, but he still got a few years. And 50 Cent somehow managed to pay for the footage off of the videographer. Probably Diddy's worst nightmare, this. It's got to be up there. Now, we're going to get into what's in the actual documentary, and hell, it's something.
Anything that surprised you from that footage?
The footage, well, I mean, it was really interesting to see his last days of freedom, and what was sort of important to him. Obviously, there's phone calls with his attorneys, with his team. It was very interesting to watch a man who's known for his brand presence. He has a really amazing knack for marketing and all of that, and how he was sort of taking that into account and how he was coming off to the public, in the days leading up to his arrest and indictment.
Like 3 or 4 pictures in the documentary that I've seen of myself. Some people say they saw more, but I know three different times where I was certain places that you could actually see me in the documentary, and that's the only.
When Netflix released its documentary on Sean Diddy Combs, many viewers felt uneasy from the very beginning. The subject matter was serious, the allegations were disturbing, and the timeline of events painted a troubling picture. Yet something still felt missing. It wasn't a lack of evidence or accusations. It was the absence of genuine emotion and raw, unfiltered moments. The documentary appeared carefully edited, with certain scenes feeling surprisingly restrained despite the gravity of the allegations. That perception fueled speculation that significant footage had been left out. According to reports and online claims, individuals close to the production alleged that the filmmakers had access to far more material than what ultimately appeared on screen. Some reports suggest this unreleased footage captured Diddy during the days leading up to his 2024 arrest, showing his reactions as pressure from investigations continued to build. Unlike archival material, these recordings were reportedly recent and documented events as they unfolded. The project also drew attention because of the people connected to it. 50 Cent, who has publicly criticized Diddy for years, was involved as an executive producer, while Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, contributed his perspective. Their involvement led many viewers to wonder whether the documentary revealed everything they knew. Following the documentary's release, legal disputes added even more controversy. Netflix has maintained that all footage included in the documentary was obtained through lawful means. Meanwhile, representatives for Diddy have argued that certain private recordings were improperly acquired. At the same time, 50 Cent has repeatedly suggested that the public has not yet seen the full story, while Gene Deal has claimed that the documentary only scratches the surface. That leaves one question at the center of the debate. Was important footage intentionally left out, or did viewers already see the complete story?
Diddy, around the time of his arrest, thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be exonerated later, so I'm going to film all this, and then I can use it in my big comeback later when I'm not in jail. Didn't work out the way he thought, and it turns out he went to jail for a few years. All right, he didn't get the full amount, but he still got a few years. And 50 Cent somehow managed to pay for the footage off of the videographer. Probably Diddy's worst nightmare, this. It's got to be up there. Now, we're going to get into what's in the actual documentary, and hell,
we need the core theme to be, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong on any front.
By the way, these conversations, the lawyer had no idea he was recording them. So when the lawyer's like, yeah, we need everyone to believe you did nothing wrong, it kind of takes away from when the lawyer is out in public saying, yeah, my client is completely innocent. And now he's showing the behind the scenes where he clearly didn't think he was very innocent. So not Diddy's smartest move. However, throughout this journey, you'll see he makes a lot of crazy decisions.
I don't think it's working. I listened. I've been a superb client, as you said. I jumped on the plane. I'm coming to New York, but I'm just running around waiting for a shoe to drop.
He's shitting himself right now, in case you can't tell, and he really doesn't look good.
It's the middle of September, and there's still no indictment. No,
bro. Then you have to have a spokesman. You have to have some sort of comms to constantly be pushing that, Mark. Because you may just be a person that you just may watch CNN. You know what I'm saying? And there's 9 billion people in the world, and 7 billion of them is on Instagram and TikTok.
He's basically trying to get control of the narrative. That's what he's really worried about. He wants public perception to be, this was all bullshit. Unfortunately for him, we had all seen the CCTV of him beating the shit out of Cassie. So, we know you're not a good guy, man. That's out there. A statement from your solicitor is really not going to change that.
We have to find somebody that'll work with us, whether they're from this country or from another country. It could be somebody that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business of media and propaganda.
We need to brainwash some motherfuckers right now, and we need people who are used to working with the dirtiest of dirty, because that's what he is, and he's admitting it. How could you let this footage fall into the hands of 50 Cent, my guy? And honestly, it always comes down to money with Diddy, because Diddy didn't get rich just because he was, clever in music. Diddy got rich because he robbed people all the time, and him not taking care of the people around him, it just comes back to bite him a million times over.
It's like we have a movie, you're speaking this language, and you know what I'm saying, we need subtitles, and we're not providing the audience with subtitles. And I invited you to this movie, and you in this thing, you don't know what's going on. You just see you just see images, quickly. Now it has a whole life of its own.
I gotta say, this whole doc was edited well. When you just see the pictures and they cut to the CCTV. Well done, 50. You nailed that, son. If you're going to take him down in style. So you get a clear window from the jump here into Diddy's psyche. He doesn't give a f about Cassie or any of these girls. He doesn't give a f about anyone. It's save yourself mentality, and it's crisis mode. And you can see on his face, he's got a problem. This is at an all-time high of his taking, surely, because he is...
Much of the online discussion centers on footage reportedly recorded during the final weeks before Diddy's arrest in September 2024. According to various reports and public speculation, these recordings captured a period when he was facing increasing legal pressure rather than being caught completely by surprise. It has been claimed that cameras followed Diddy through meetings, phone calls, and private moments that were never intended for public viewing. One frequently discussed allegation involves a hotel room conversation in which Diddy was reportedly speaking with his lead attorney over speakerphone. According to those claims, his tone remained calm, but the conversation reflected concern about the legal challenges ahead. Reports also allege that the discussion shifted from courtroom strategy to managing public perception and protecting his public image as media attention intensified. Diddy's legal team has argued that any such conversations would be protected by attorney-client privilege and should never be made public. Netflix has maintained that the documentary relied only on lawfully obtained material, while 50 Cent has continued suggesting that additional footage exists beyond what audiences have already seen. Supporters of these claims argue that recordings from before Diddy's arrest could provide a more candid picture of his mindset before the legal proceedings officially began. However, many of these reports remain unverified, and the existence or contents of any unreleased footage have not been publicly confirmed. Another question frequently raised online concerns how any personal recordings could have become available in the first place. According to various reports, Diddy had been documenting parts of his life through a personal filming project, leading some to speculate that unreleased material may still exist.
50, how'd you get it, and what does that scene show?
Well, I mean, you're a journalist, Harvey. Harvey, you would not disclose your sources.
We usually don't.
Yeah, but I got it. Yeah.
What he said.
And what do you think it conveys? Because we see someone trying to pull the strings and talking about, he would say affecting, others would say manipulating the public views of the allegations.
I think that, one big theme of the series is to go behind the scenes to really understand how brilliant you could say Sean Combs is at marketing, at owning his narrative, controlling the narrative at all times. And so why would that stop, when his life is on the line? So I think that, on its face, that's what it is. But as you get deeper in the film, you start to realize, perhaps how some of these tactics, how they really came to present themselves, during the trial.
You show that, his abilities, his early rise.
Right.
Alexandra, you also give time to victims of the alleged abuse. Some of the cases are in different procedural postures. And you show victims who were women and men. Why is that important?
Because, victims of sexual assault, sexual violence, gender should not be a part of that conversation. When you are a victim, you are a victim. And I think that, this series was a platform in a way for these alleged victims to come forward, give their truth, put context to their situations when so much of it was ripped out, and we just the world was going for the salacious headlines, and they really had the time to tell their story.
Yeah, and the film takes us way behind the PR or propaganda machine. You see Diddy the day he's finding out about new suits against him while he's in New York preparing for a possible...
According to online reports, Diddy's personal documentary project was never officially completed. Some sources claim production stalled behind the scenes after financial disagreements and growing tensions among those involved. These claims have not been independently confirmed. Several reports further allege that some videographers eventually decided to part with footage they had recorded after disputes over contracts and payments. It has also been claimed that members of 50 Cent's production team later gained access to some of this material, although neither 50 Cent nor his team has publicly confirmed those specific allegations. Rather than directly addressing every rumor, 50 Cent has often responded through cryptic social media posts and humorous comments that many fans interpret as hints that he knows more than he has revealed publicly. Throughout the controversy, Netflix has continued to state that all material used in the documentary was obtained legally. Nevertheless, debate continues over whether additional footage exists that has never been released. If such recordings do exist, some observers believe they could show how quickly control over Diddy's public image shifted during one of the most difficult periods of his career. Whether any unreleased material will ever become public remains unknown.
50 didn't have the power to do anything, but they using his name to push the whole documentary. And that's what it was about. So that's why you don't see a cameo other than the pictures they used of me on the film in the documentary. I got 3 or 4 pictures in the documentary that I've seen of myself. Some people say they saw more, but I know three different times where I was certain places that you could actually see me in the documentary, and that's the only thing you're going to get. But the stories that they told in the documentary, bro, come on. They could have went a whole lot deeper. They could have did a whole lot more. So I ain't in the documentary because that lady that was the director, I think, what's her name? Alex, Alex State. You know her name, Mighty? Yo, Mighty, just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna look this up, all right? Okay. Her name is Alex Stapleton. The director that I spoke to was Alex Stapleton. She was the one told me that she was the director, she was the producer, whatever, this, that, and the third, the whole 9 yards. And she was talking mad greasy to me. And listen here, it's no after you talk that kind of talk to me, it's no amount of money she could have paid me anyway for me to get in there. My story is more too valuable, getting getting in depth with this whole stuff. And it would have helped that documentary a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? In actually, they used all the stuff that I told them and did it the way that I was saying do it. Tim Dog started off with the childhood with Puff and the whole 9 yards. Kirk Burrows do the business part, but they was trying to put people in there like Mark Curry and other people to talk about the streets or what was going on, a certain thing. But Mark can only say so much, because he was an artist. So he wasn't with Puff like I was with him during that time when we was running back and forth here and there and the whole 9 yards. So, Miss Alex Stapleton is the one reason why I'm not in the documentary, but it's all right with me. I've been in a lot of documentaries. I did The Shine. I did the A&E. I did the Discovery Channel. I did the Fox. I've been in a whole lot of different documentaries. And I'm always on the art of dialogue. So the people been getting most of the information from here anyway.
Yeah, man, you always on here, man. Always got to bring you on. So, with that being said, man, I want to get right into the documentary, man. How you feel about the documentary, man? The behind the scenes footage they got of Diddy leading up to him getting arrested. How you feel about all that, man?
Well, what I feel about the documentary, they left a whole lot of key things out. If they was going to do something and they're going to say in the reckoning of Sean Combs, the reckoning, or Diddy, the reckoning and stuff like that, it should have been a lot of people that we lost because of him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't only Big. It wasn't only Tupac. You understand? For the atmosphere that he put those kids in, you got a guy named Anthony Wolf Jones, who was from Bad Boy, from its conception as doing security and being one of the financiers of Puff having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde Davis. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't able to tell that story because they didn't have no intel on that story or what went down, or they didn't do they
Gene Deal addressed criticism surrounding the documentary by saying he does not believe 50 Cent personally controlled every editorial decision. He explained that many people assume 50 Cent decided exactly what footage was included or excluded, but he does not think that reflects how documentary productions actually work. Deal also responded to accusations that speaking publicly about Diddy amounts to snitching. He argued that telling the truth about events someone personally witnessed should not be viewed that way. According to him, exposing wrongdoing, if supported by facts, is different from betraying someone. He encouraged more people with first-hand knowledge to speak openly, saying greater transparency could help reveal the truth behind long-standing allegations. When asked about reports that Diddy's family was preparing a billion-dollar lawsuit over the documentary, Deal expressed skepticism. He suggested that major productions...
Everybody want to say that 50 Cent did the whole documentary. He was responsible for doing the whole documentary, what goes in there, what goes out of there. And I don't believe that. And I don't believe that he's responsible for everything that goes in there. I don't believe he's responsible for everything that goes out of there. Guys want to say that he's snitching, you know what I'm saying, because he's telling his truth about what went down and what he saw or what he heard or whatever like that. I don't know how to love my enemy. And if I gotta put out the truth about something that he was doing and it's wrong, and that was wrong, I don't have no problem with that shit. Not a problem at all. Keep doing it. Maybe enough men come out and speak out on some bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're saying that Diddy's family is preparing a $1 billion lawsuit over this documentary.
I think they dropped it already. I don't think they ain't gonna have a chance, because before you put something out like that, they're gonna dot their I's and cross their T's. They're gonna make sure everything is in place. And if Puff had friends over there at Netflix, if it haven't came down, was it showing? Look at, if it haven't came down yet, they ain't got a leg to stand on.
Yeah, you just made me think of something. I'm sure Netflix has 1 million lawyers, and I'm sure they have plenty of lawyers go over this thing to make sure it was airtight.
Yes, sir.
And they might probably even cut some stuff out that maybe they weren't even sure about. Just probably. Well, Gene, I appreciate you taking the time. Dope content as always. And I wish you luck, man. I know, man, you get on these interviews and they go crazy, man.
Yeah, man, listen. A lot of people want to, come at me, and everybody want to find fault in 50, find fault in me, find fault in anybody who's speaking out against the evil that was going on. But what about find fault from the person who did it? Find fault for the person who starved their artist. Find fault for the person who led an artist out there to to his death. Find fault in a person who set up the atmosphere for one of the greatest artists in hip hop to lose his life. You know what I'm saying? Find fault in a person that allegedly had a person sore in the middle of the night and they didn't want to be sore. Find fault in this individual who did all this crazy shit to people instead of find fault in the people who's talking about it and letting you know about it.
Why do you think people defend Diddy? That's crazy, right?
I used to really believe they really wanted to be in the Diddy party so bad.
Undergo extensive legal review before release, and said he believes filmmakers would ensure their material is properly vetted before making it public. While legal challenges and public debate continue, many questions surrounding the documentary and the alleged unreleased F.